India is on the move, a nation accelerating towards global economic dominance. With a dynamic mix of innovation, resilience and ambition, the Indian economy is rewriting the playbook, capturing global attention as it races toward a brighter future. And this pivotal moment was brought into sharp focus at the recently concluded 10th edition of the Times Network India Economic Conclave held in New Delhi. For a decade, the India Economic Conclave has been the torchbearer of the nation's economic narrative, tackling the most pressing issues and driving conversations that shape policy and progress. This year was no exception. Under the compelling theme, Fast Track to Top 3, the conclave ignited discussions on India's aspirations to cement its place among the world's top 3 economies. Top editorial voices, visionaries, policymakers and industry leaders convened to exchange insights, strategies and solutions to accelerate India's growth story. India is on the move, and the India Economic Conclave remains at the heart of the conversation, shaping the road ahead. In this episode, 2 exemplary conversations put forward India's gold rush and how India's defense ecosystem is getting empowered.
Gold in the country is an emotion. Forget about the fact that people think about gold as an investment, but for us it's about jitna sona utna aur acha. So what is it about this yellow metal, what is it about gold that has, created this gold rush of a sorts?
Gold, the color yellow, signifies the power of sun. I think gold is eternal. It's anti-inflationary. It's a commodity. It's a metal which will stand the test of time. And we have seen that it's not gold rush today. The rush has always been there. And I think especially during times of uncertainties, during economic uncertainties, during geopolitical uncertainties, gold is what is sought after. And this is what we're seeing today, that the whole jewelry industry, the whole gold industry is seeing a huge interest. And I think Indians have a different approach to gold. Indian household, every household has gold, and the estimates India could have 25,000 tons of gold, 50,000 tons of gold. Nobody knows how much gold the Indian households have, and that again has been reinforced during COVID, when Indian economy stood strong, where people could survive because of the gold they had with them, and that came as a last resort option for people to pay off their medical bills, to pay off their liabilities in those uncertain times. So I believe that this is a real asset. And we as jewelers, see this, that the interest is going to just keep on growing. It's a great time for the entire industry and for for investment in gold. And I think we all are bullish on the future of gold.
Saurabh, people would also want to know whether this is the right time to buy gold. Should they be waiting? How do you see things moving in, keeping in mind the geopolitical situations? You're looking at almost emerging war situations across the globe.
There is no right time. I think every time is the right time to buy gold. Like we have looked at, mutual funds, what people spoke right now. There you have to keep on looking at the power of compounding and keep on staying invested. I think the same philosophy applies for gold. In India, people buy gold in 2 forms. It can be gold as bars, coins, or it can be jewelry. I think in India, we have this unique concept of value investment. So the jewelry you buy can also be worn and also be used as an investment, as a last resort cash in case a time comes for it. But I think this demand is real. This demand is not created. There's no hype around it, because gold fundamentally, like I mentioned before, is finite. The supply of gold is limited annually, and the demand is affected by a lot of things, primarily looking at today's geopolitical pressures around the world, the trade wars which are happening around the world. We are living in uncertain times. We are living in times which are going to be challenging. The world is going to see a lot of challenges on different fronts. and one has to stay diversified. So the risk which an investor is going to face has to be diversified, and I think in that gold is playing a very important role in everyone's portfolio.
Gold, platinum, diamonds. There's a lot of conversation now about jewelry. So where does gold really stand? This, you believe, like they say, old is still gold. So, I mean, gold is the real gold. I mean, is that the only thing that matters? Or you think moving across, you could have, new metals that we could be looking at? That is the first question. And the other thing is about the hallmark, the standardization of gold. As consumers, how should we be aware? And where is it that your brand comes in? What is it that you do differently that, you think our audiences and our viewers must know?
I think today platinum is being seen as a jewelry metal. Investment-wise, there are a lot of metals which people today invest in. There'll be copper, zinc, platforms like commodity exchanges have a lot of metals to invest in. When it comes to jewelry, it's primarily gold. There is a portion of people who are looking at platinum, but that's a very, very small percentage. In gold, there's new trends evolving. There is, now mix and match. So you'll find dual metal, gold and platinum coming together in the form of jewelry. There'll be, gold which is in different caratage now. So you're seeing 14 karat jewelry, 18 karat jewelry. So I think gold is ductile, malleable, it can be made in different forms, and that's what is the beauty of gold. As an industry, I think we have come a long way ahead. Today, we are around an $85-90 billion industry in India. I think it's growing at a CAGR of about 20-25% annually. So in the next 4 years, the industry is looking at almost doubling from here. And a large portion of that, I think, is because of the one side regulations by the government in terms of quality, hallmarking being mandatory, certification being mandatory, and awareness for the consumers on looking at buying gold from reputed brands, transparency, asking for invoices. So the whole perception about the industry, which was considered to be unorganized, is being changed. And also is talking in terms of numbers. Today, I think India would have around 1 million jewelers, which again is a huge number when it comes globally. China would be talking of 200,000. We are at 1 million. So I think that's a number which, that's why the whole industry was unorganized. It's moving fast towards consolidation, moving fast towards getting organized. I think today almost 40-45% industry is organized, and we are moving at a very fast rate. What this brings to the consumer is quality, assurance, better designs, and a whole new shopping experience. So I think, like we're saying, Vikasit Bharat, I mean, in this, we are a part of it in a big way. Today, Indian jewelry, our manufacturing is looked at worldwide as the pioneers. Same thing will happen in retail, because when Indians buy jewelry, it's an emotion. It's not just a product. Here, jewelry means, it's a very, very deep-rooted emotion in the family. So it's a relationship, and that's very unique of our country. Worldwide, jewelry is looked at as fashion, glamour. There is no connection to the emotion what India has. And I think that's what's really making the whole industry looking at it more deeply. We're looking at developing more relations. And I think this is the only industry where technology plays a role, but human touch is very important. So when we look at even the whole experience, worldwide jewelry is not sold online, it is offline. It's experience where you go, you go to your trusted jeweler, your trusted brand, you interact, you buy. It's a relationship which nurtures over time, where we get stronger over time. I think that is what makes Indian jewelry and the Indian jewelry market so special.
Interesting you spoke about this online trend. You believe that there could be a time when people sitting at the comforts of their home will order gold jewelry just like that?
See, trust is no longer a phenomenon because jewelry is certified, is hallmarked, so trust will be there when you're buying from trusted brands. Like, for example, at PNG, we ensure that trust is at the core of our entire business. So quality control, transparency is all there. Jewelry, I think, will converge to a model which is a hybrid. So you browse online but shop offline. A kind of omni-commerce where things come together and people will still make a decision online, but make the entire transaction offline.
Every nook and corner you will have, one of that, your trusted jeweler that your family has been going to for decades, for years together. So what is the challenge for you as a brand today? What is the challenge that you look at? How do you deliver on those challenges? And what is it that sets you apart from a lot of other players in the market?
So I think the real challenge today is to be able to create the whole shopping experience which is favorable for a consumer. I think today a consumer is not just looking at price. 10 years ago, you would see only price as the decision making to buy jewelry. Today, it's the whole package. It's about price, it's about designs, it's about the brand, it's about after sales, and it's about the whole reputation who are buying from. So I think this whole experience is what I think makes PNG unique. Like I mentioned before, we are a family jeweler, but who's corporatized, who are listed. So we say that we are organized, but we have still the human touch of a family jeweler. So when you go to a family jeweler, he's going to be able to give you, repairing services, polishing services, made to order, at the same time advise you. And we believe this is what we do at PNG. We treat our customers as our family. We would have more than 35-40 lakh customers, but we know each one of them individually. We cater to them, we talk to them, understand what they want. And human side, I think, is very important in our whole jewelry business, because it is not a transaction. It's an exchange of emotions, it's relationships. I think that is what is going to be the main challenge for anybody going ahead, to establish a connect with the consumer and to make the bond stronger and stronger, and be with him during good and bad times. So like we say, it's not just, people don't buy jewelry only in good times. People also will sell jewelry in bad times to, tide over that particular crisis. As a jeweler, we also have to be with them during that point of time. And I think that is what really makes us unique in the market. And again, the whole legacy of 20 decades is what makes us understand designs, understand psyche, relationships with families. And this is what today Indian jewelry market is. Designs here are going to be, everywhere available. There's nothing which will really, make you have a trademark on a particular design. But what you can trademark is your service. What you can trademark is your entire process. And I think blending new age technology with the old way of retailing is the success for a successful jewelry brand.
All right, I think this has been a fascinating and an enlightening conversation, much like the metal that continues to shine. Saurabh, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to all the audiences also for patiently listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Puneet Kaura, thank you very much for joining us at the India Economic Conclave. Ladies and gentlemen, Vikrant just talked about love for the country, and one of the ways in which our love for the country, is reflected is in how we contribute to its growth. One of the sectors that contributes, Mr. Kaura, hugely towards India's economic growth and towards the development of this country is the defense sector, and you're one of the pioneers in developing defense equipments, high-tech equipments. Samtel Avionics, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the leading companies that is working closely with our armed forces in strengthening the Atmanirbharta of the defense sector. And therefore, let me begin by asking you, Mr. Kaura, how do you see private players like yourselves, private companies, contributing to the defense sector? You've been in this business for some time now. By the way, congratulations, 50 years of Samtel Avionics this year. But how do you see the private players really contributing in the growth of the defense sector and in strengthening the defense sector of the country?
First of all, I would like to compliment Times Network for choosing this venue. I was here when this was inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister, and it's heartening to see the way it has bloomed over the last few years. Coming back to your question, I think what I can say is that we got into defense, as you rightly mentioned, we are 50 years old. We got into defense about 12 to 14 years ago, and we are a company which was always developing products in the country. R&D was always a focus for us. But we got into defense, and we thought that this is a sector which can really contribute to actually making our country Atmanirbhar. And this slogan came 10 years ago with our Honorable Prime Minister, which was so appropriate, but actually we've been doing this since the inception of the group. And defense was something that was actually contributing to making technology in the country, but more than that, making our armed forces Atmanirbhar so that our country is more secured. So it actually resonated very well with us, and especially resonated with me when I kind of joined the group. It created for me, it was a very passionate kind of thing, more than the technology, the engineering that goes behind it. Just the real reason of your kind of existence was very important to me. I think coming to your question more, kind of accurately talking about what Samtel is doing. Samtel is right now manufacturing, avionic electronic products for armed forces, for India, for global customers. We obviously, contribute significantly in that space. We have a joint venture with Hindustan Aeronautics, HAL, and we are kind of developing all their products in the country, and also exporting to global global armed forces, and as well as civilian aircrafts. So that is the domain we are kind of acting and working in.
Mr. Kaura, one of the key focuses for India has been the import substitution in the defense sector, and therefore contributing to the Atmanirbharta in this. For companies like you, for people who are contributing to this sector, who are involved deeply in this, how do you see the challenges playing out for you? What challenges are you facing currently, and how do you see that really panning out in the near future?
So, I think as far as challenges are concerned, I think, as they say, Sangharsh is part of life. So we wake up every day to a new challenge. I'm not kind of going to talk about the ecosystem and the issues, because we do that quite a bit. I'm also involved in advocacy with the government on a regular basis. I am the co-chair of CII, National Committee for Defense. So we kind of address those issues over there, and I would not like to bring them out over here because we do enough of that over in those forums. But just to elaborate in a different way, I think I feel that we have a lot of issues that we need to kind of solve within ourselves. And we can't keep on blaming the government, can't keep on blaming the people. There is, government is doing a lot. It's already doing enough. Are we doing, as a citizen of the country, as a corporate citizen of the country, enough? That's the question I kind of resonate with every day. And like they talk about startups, I feel every day when you wake up, you are starting. For me, of course, this business, although we are a 50-year-old group, is a kind of a startup. But we are starting every day, and every day is a new day. Every day is full of challenges. But coming to the challenges that we have, I think we have regular issues. There is nothing that we kind of get so discouraged with. We are probably more excited every month, every year, as we look at the global picture. I will go to a slightly, give you a slightly more different perspective on the global perspective. If you look at the global A&D market, aerospace and defense, it's about $750 billion. India is, right now spending about $20 billion, $26 billion a year. We obviously have a large kind of way to go, a huge potential. And if you look at the Indian GDP, we are about 3.5, 3.4 trillion, going to about 5 to 6 trillion in the next 5 to 6 years. We spend about slightly less than 2% of the GDP on defense. Imagine the potential that lies ahead of us, not only in India, but globally. And as our Prime Minister keeps on saying, we need to, look at the global market. Our target is to go to $26 billion in exports. So there's a lot of potential. And I think we should stop worrying about the challenges and think about the opportunities that lie in front of us.
Yeah, that's what the Prime Minister also says. Apada mein afsar is what we all should be looking at. But, since you're talking about the global arena and you are also collaborating with international companies, with companies from across the world and the militaries of across the world where you're providing equipment for the military, how do you see India really moving forward in the international arena? What can India do? If I had to ask you the top 3 things that India can do to make a mark in terms of high-tech defense equipment in the international arena, what would those 3 things be?
So the theme of this conclave is fast track to top 3. And I think defense and technology, we've talked about some of those sectors in the last couple of days, is going to play a very pivotal role if you're going to get there. So I would really talk about 2 or 3 things, as you said. One is innovation. Second one is skilling. And third one is looking at basically developing capabilities which are core to the country, so that there is a support to the ecosystem, more like labs. And I'll elaborate on all the 3. So when I talk about innovation, that's about creating capabilities within the country, which is basically making our country totally self-dependent. So basically making products which are built to spec, developed in the country. We don't rely on foreign OEMs for technologies. And that is a core if we want to kind of develop a real strong defense ecosystem in the country. I think skilling is a very important part to it. Skilling is a big challenge as the country is growing, and if we want to achieve the GDP targets that we want to achieve, skilling is going to play a very pivotal role. We at Samtel play a very important role as much as we can to kind of keep on pushing this kind of initiative inside the company. And third one is the ecosystem. I think over here, government also plays a role, and they would probably play a bigger role as we move. Talking about R&D labs, supporting with an ecosystem of having more players in the country. For example, an electronic space, whether you talk about defense, you talk about any other space, we are a bigger importer than oil. That's what we are saying. And yesterday we heard the minister, he talked about basically talking about how we want to, with the semiconductor labs that are coming up, become self-dependent. So that is something that is going to play a very important role as well. So these are the 3 things I think that will be very important.
Okay, so 2 important things that you mentioned, Mr. Kaura. One is skilling. The other is, semiconductors. First, skilling. I want to understand from you, this is a fascinating area, this military high-tech equipment that you're into. What sort of skills are companies like yourselves looking for when they go and hire young talent? What sort of people are you looking for in terms of skills?
I think I must say this, that our country has no dearth of talent, first of all. You are a very, very ambitious young country, and so is our company. We are a very young company. I think average age group is still somewhere around 28, 30. And we are kind of looking at passionate young people. Of course, technically, areas are obvious. We are looking at electronics, embedded hardware, software, those kind of capabilities, which are obvious for a avionics, electronics manufacturer like us. But for me, most important is the passion that the youngsters have today when they come to our company and they say they are doing something for the country, because ultimately they know the products that they make would be going to their armed forces, and they feel proud about it. And that pride that comes, I think, is a very important thing for me. So that is something that I look for when I hire youngsters. How passionate are they for what they want to do, and the purpose of the company, how they kind of matches the youngster's vision for himself or herself.
Yeah, which is the sentiment we started this conversation with, Mr. Kaura, the fact that how are you contributing to nation building? And great if you want to join the armed forces, but if you cannot, then there are several other ways to contributing to nation building and strengthening this country. But the other important thing that you mentioned, Mr. Kaura, is semiconductors, and that is something that has come to relevance, especially in the post-COVID era. And how the semiconductor chip industry is growing. It is also shifting from its dominant country of China. India has been making great strides in this industry as well, and the government of India is pitching the semiconductor chip industry further. How do you see that really moving forward?
So, as the minister also mentioned yesterday, we've been trying to get to a situation where we are self-dependent in this space. But we've struggled, but finally we are there. Next year, we will start seeing the first Indian chip from middle of next year. This is a very important area. Please understand that when you talk about electronics, semiconductor is at the heart of it. Every product that is based on, electronic boxes that we make are based on these cards that go inside these boxes. And these cards basically are totally, they are dependent on foreign companies right now. So when these chips would be made in the country, we would start buying it from our local ecosystem, which is what I mentioned earlier. And this is a very major step towards making our country totally self-independent, Atmanirbhar as we call it. And I feel that this is a very important step taken finally at the right time. Took a long time to come here, but we are finally there. Over the next few years, I think we will see this will play out very beautifully in multiple spaces. We are also besides defense, we also into railway space. And we make a lot of LRUs for Vande Bharat and those kind of platforms. All of those platforms, again, are totally dependent for chips from overseas OEMs. And that will dramatically change. So that's a game changer in my view. And my compliment is government to come out with this initiative and pushing it and making it happen finally.
How much time do you think, Mr. Kaura, it's going to take India to reach where it aims to reach in terms of the semiconductor chip industry?
So, every step is an important step. We are going to start seeing the Indian chips next year. There is also, don't forget, there is a beginning, then there is different phases, as you rightly said. So I would say another 3 to 4 years, you'll see a dramatic change. It's like any new thing which takes its own time. Similarly, we will have chips which are slightly easier to make and then slightly more complex and more complex. But I don't know the exact plans those companies have, but my personal view is about 3 to 4 years, we should see a lot of kind of self-dependence taking place within the country.
And how much of the China plus one factor do you think would help India in this?
China plus one factor is a very important factor. I mean, if I look at ourselves, we are in the civilian aerospace space as well. And I clearly see already China plus one factor playing in over there. I think we are in a situation where the world is changing very dramatically. And I feel India is in a very beautiful geopolitical situation. If you look at Europe, it's got its own challenges. The world is looking at partnering with India for multiple reasons, not only just the kind of capabilities our country has, but also the geopolitical situation. So when I look at it from that perspective, and I look at the situation with China plus one, obviously it's going to play out very beautifully. We ourselves are beneficiaries of that. And I personally feel that this is going to be a very important kind of play, especially in the next 3 to 4 years as President Trump takes over and how that kind of affects our relationships. And I think that's for the good of the country, for India.
Which is what was my next question also, Mr. Kaura. The fact that how are companies like yourselves impacted with the evolving geopolitical situation in the world? There are 2 wars happening. There is a US election that has Donald Trump coming back. How do you see, private players like yourselves in the defense industry who closely work with India's armed forces getting impacted by such major geopolitical changes that happen?
So, both the spaces we are in, defense and transportation or railways and metros, all the electronics we do, I feel that there is a general shift towards looking at India as a potential partner for the long term. I personally have experienced multiple, discussions or already started supplies to multiple countries which are looking at India as a potential long-term source for these equipments. This was not the case even 5-7 years ago, They are now more confident about our country. The products that go from here, we were only known as an IT product supplier. That's changing. Our image is changing. Our brand is changing. Our time has come. I personally feel that we are at the right place at the right time. And for the next 10 to 20 years, this country will grow, blossom. And I personally feel that from that perspective, we will see a lot of those opportunities coming from different parts of the world to India, not only to develop products for them, to supply products for high technology, but also looking at partnership to develop next generation of technologies.
Okay.
Like we heard about satellites and things like that. I think all that will play in very beautifully, and we will see India playing a very important role in the world map for this.
Okay, quickly, my last question for you, Mr. Kaura. Defense stocks are hot property now. Any plans of cashing in on that boom?
I'm a big follower of Lord Balaji, so may his blessings be with us, as they say, inshallah. May God bless us. Yes, of course, you're absolutely right. The technology space is really doing very well, and especially in the defense stocks. I have been approached, and as we go along, depending on what kind of numbers I get and what kind of interest I get, it has to match my kind of expectation as well. But yes, we are looking at that space as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you. Our best wishes with you with Samtel Avionics. Thank you very much, Mr. Puneet Kaura. I'll end this session here. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
speaking
much.
with
Thank you
us
so
here.
much.
And cheers to India's defense sector. Hopefully, we'll have a stronger defense sector and as we move forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Puneet Kaura.